In today's first reading from Leviticus 23, God is instructing Moses about the liturgical calendar, which God's people are to celebrate yearly. These events are all centered about remembering. The first major celebration is the recalling of the Passover and Exodus, which resulted in the creation of Israel as God's chosen people. It's this feast which was recalled when Jesus and his disciples were gathered for what's referred to now as the Last Supper. The second remembering is the 50 days after the first planting, on which day the first fruits from that planting are to be brought to the temple in dedication to God. The Christian celebration of Pentecost celebrates the first fruits of Jesus' death, bringing the first fruits of his resurrection. And then the third feast on God's list is the Feast of Booths, Booths, or tents or tabernacle, which is a harvest time of recognizing God's abundant care for his agricultural nation. Persons are encouraged to construct little huts and place themselves on the ground surrounded by the various vegetation, symbolizing gratitude and dependence. It was a Thanksgiving prayer time. These three remembering times recall the thought that if we do not tell the stories, we will forget who we are. Now, the gospel story today from Matthew 13 is also a little bit about recalling. Jesus returns to his hometown. The folks remember who Jesus was, so he must still be the same. They confined him to their control and became upset when he has changed. He teaches with authority. They know him as they knew him. The town folks could not let Jesus be new, different, and they were not letting God be new or making new revelations. They wanted him to be affirming of their remembering what God had done, and Jesus was inviting them to a faith which would guide them into their futures. They would have heard of his mighty deeds elsewhere, and they wanted him to perform those in their midst. He was calling them from instruction to invitation, and that would require them trusting in his authority, which would take faith. They were being called to be out of control, which was provided by memories. We might find something similar. We are invited to allow Jesus, God, prayer, virtue, and faith to make us something different, something less controllable. Faith can be frightening because faith is not confining, but relational and unpredictable. Jesus desires a relationship with us as well, to be available to mystery, uncertainty, and doubt, not to be clung to, but a stance from which to be invited, assured, and guided. Jesus was inviting his former neighbors to be trusting in faith, and they just couldn't do it. So he just couldn't do the mighty deeds about which they had heard. He was just too different, too personal, too new.